Chapter 4. Closing time. Coming to, Tom found himself in complete darkness. All he could see was a single ring of light directly above his head. Have I been led away by the hands to the land beyond? He thought. He fumbled around, trying to make sense of it all. He raised his arms up to touch the glowing ring, when a great shaft of brilliant amber light appeared. Squinting into the light, he saw the face of a man with a grey moustache, holding a candlestick up by his chin. Tom realised he was back in the cellar of the pub with no name, squashed inside his barrel in an upright position, and this meant the man was none other than Uncle Victor, having lifted the lid on his barrel.
"You looks terrible, lad. White as a sheet, dark circles around your eyes and that. But at least you're awake," said the landlord. "Feeling better, like?"
Tom said nothing as his eyes rolled around in their sockets.
"You've been out for days. I had to make my own breakfast and everything. You caused quite a ruckus, you know. That bloke with the black cape and the antlers had to fight his way out the square to get you back here."
Tom tried to listen as best he could.
"Everybody's been talking about you,"
Uncle Victor continued.
"They're saying a young lad started the eclipse again. Boden-Rine's fallen to the shadow of the black sun like those other places to the east. People are looking for you, like. They've got questions and that."
"Did I do it? Did I cause the eclipse?" asked Tom in a weak voice.
"Sorry, lad, but you might have done it. Yes, I tried to stop you, like, but you snuck out. If you'd only listened to me. Well, what's done is done,"
said Uncle Victor. Tom's stomach sank. "How could I move the suns? I've got no powers to speak of."
"They might only be kicking in now, lad,"
said Uncle Victor.
"It's a long story. We'll talk after closing, all right? The way I see it, the worst possible thing that could have happened just has. What's done is done. The shadow's over our heads now, so it's up to the alchemist to come back to sort it out, like. As for you, just lay low for a bit. People soon forget."
I'll put it right. I'll try and reverse it," said Tom in a broken, mindful haze. He couldn't remember much, but Tom knew he was different now. Changed. Unbalanced. As if he were now a slave to a one-sided will. How fine, how normal he had been only a few days ago. A far cry from the present. But why? It didn't make sense.
"Victor, get back up here! People have just walked in!"
shouted Aunt Morag from the bar.
"Listen, lad, I feels like the time's right to give you this,"
said Uncle Victor, taking out a letter from his tunic and placing it down Tom's front.
"I think it was your birthday a few days ago and all. So happy birthday. I'll read it to you later, but you hang on to it for now."
"Victor!"
"Better go, lad. You just carry on getting better and try not to make any noise. We're closing shortly, so I'll be back, all right?"
said Uncle Victor before placing the lid back on the barrel. Tom could always rely on Uncle Victor to not tell him the things he most wanted to know. He gathered his senses a little further in the darkness. After centering himself, Tom knocked the lid off the barrel to get some air. After a little time, he grew accustomed to the candlelight, and his thoughts began coming back to him. Did I hear Uncle Victor correctly? Did he say people are looking for me? What did I do? How did a rat bite cause me to start the eclipse moving again? Am I now under attack from some unknown enemy? It doesn't make any sense.
"I've never had the pleasure of seeing you ladies in this place before,"
he heard Uncle Victor say through the floorboards above.
"Yes, our first time. I'm glad we stopped by, aren't you, Mary? Such a handsome landlord," replied one of the ladies. "Absolutely. 2 glasses of red wine, please," replied a second lady.
Strangers, thought Tom. They might be the very people looking for me. He crawled out from his barrel and stumbled his way up the steps to the cellar door, peering through the gaps in the beams to get a look at their faces. Uncle Victor stood serving the 2 women on the other side of the bar. One was blonde and the other a redhead. Both had rouge upon their cheeks, red dresses, and red lipstick, making them stick out a mile amongst the dour locals. Tom held his breath to listen more intently.
And what lovely wine, said the lady with red hair, taking another sip. Fit for a queen. Or a king, said the other. Definitely. We'll be back in here every night, won't we, sis?
Used to our sisters?
Asked Victor, now blushing and loosening his collar.
That's right. It's difficult to come by such a lovely drop of red these days. Hope you've got plenty for us. We're thirsty young women, said the blonde.
There's over 6 barrels in the cellar. That do you?
Asked Uncle Victor. Both women raised an eyebrow.
Tell you what, ladies, these ones are on me,
said the landlord.
Handsome and a gentleman, eh, Mary? And with 6 barrels of wine in his cellar, I've a good mind to ask for his hand in marriage.
Uncle Victor's face turned the same colour as the wine.
He's got a wife, you know,
said Morag.
and it's closing time, so drink up.
The sisters finished their drinks in one gulp and made their way to the front door.
Good night, handsome gentleman, said the redhead, while the blonde lady blew Victor a kiss and waved him goodbye.
Night, ladies. Come again,
replied the landlord.
That's time at the bar and all for the rest of you lot.
Time passed on, and Tom stayed put, watching through the gaps in the cellar door, his mind racing. Which one of you is planning on doing me in? He asked himself as he watched the regulars leave. A terrifying thought struck him as the last man said goodnight. Maybe Uncle Victor and Aunt Morag are planning on killing me themselves, he thought. I can't trust anybody anymore. Come to think of it, I can't even trust myself.
You shouldn't be so rude to our customers,
said Uncle Victor to his wife when they were alone.
Those 2 nice ladies and that. We rely on their money to keep this place going.
Why didn't you charge them then?
Asked Morag.
Sometimes, my dear, you need to invest a bit to see a bigger return.
Uncle Victor made to close the front door when something, or someone, pushed back from the other side before the latch met the notch.
We're closed,
said the landlord. Tom's heart raced even quicker than before. His senses heightened. Something from within him told him that this was it. This is what he'd been preparing for his whole life, without even realising it. The person on the other side of the door rammed at the door until it burst open, forcing Victor to step back. In walked 4 officers, with Boden-Rine's coat of arms upon their surcoats, carrying flaming torches. A Gavier general led the troop, although it was not the same homeless Gavier from the square. This one had large bushy eyebrows, a battle-scarred face, and well-worn antlers.
Can we help you, officers?
Asked Aunt Morag.
I hope so, for your sake,
said the Gavier in charge.
Let's make this quick, eh? We've all got beds to get to,
said Uncle Victor, making his way beside Morag behind the bar.
We're looking for a boy. Well, this is a pub, and an empty one at that, so sorry about that.
Don't be so rude, snapped Aunt Morag.
Hand him over, and we'll be on our way,
said the general.
We don't know what you're talking about,
said Uncle Victor.
The boy,
barked the general.
The boy you've been hiding in your cellar all these years. We're here on behalf of King Jared. We need to make sure that a boy in his condition is safe.
The landlords looked at each other.
You can't stop it, old man. It's already begun,
said the general. Tom held his breath to the point of pain. How did they find me? He thought. He did not have long to wonder, for the next moment Tom spotted the same one-eyed rat from the field running up the general's leg and onto his shoulder.
Take me to your cellar,
ordered the general.
There's nobody down there, just beer and wine and cider and the like, said the landlord. Let's see, shall we?
Replied the general. At that moment, Tom heard the trapdoor outside creak open. The cold night air quickly filled the room, sending a shiver down his back. "They're coming at me from all sides," he thought.
"Down you go," said a young officer at the foot of the trap door.
Tom darted down the cellar steps, picking up the barrel lid along the way before squeezing himself inside. Tom took a deep breath and fell silent. He heard the clink-clang of the winding winch as the first young officer entered the cellar. A second officer soon followed. He heard the crash of tables being turned upside down overhead, the smashing of bottles, and the clash of swords against metal. Muffled though it was, he could still hear Uncle Victor talking above. He squeezed himself even tighter inside his barrel. He played out each sound as an image in his mind. He imagined the officers calmly striding across the bar towards Victor. He hoped Uncle Victor had time to put his breastplate armour on. Then he heard the shrill sound of Aunt Morag's scream.
"There's somebody coming," said one of the young officers already in the cellar. "I can't see anything," replied the other. "I can't see." "Hurry," said the other.
Then all at once, the two young officers took hold of Tom's barrel, lowering it on its side and rolling the thing across the floor, rattling him around inside. Placing chains around the barrel, the officers hoisted him up and out through the trap door as the other officers burst in from the bar side.
"Quick, get it in the cart," said one of the young officers to the other.
Before Tom knew what was happening, the barrel got picked up, turned over, and dropped onto the back of the awaiting cart. Tom landed upside down, his own body crashing down on top of him. His dizziness became too much to bear, and he blacked out once more. End of chapter. To find out whether Tom is bad or good, head on over to Spotify, Audible, Apple Books, or wherever you listen to your audiobooks, using the link in the description where the rest of Tom's adventure awaits. Thanks for listening.